Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Hangout with Coach Kerry. In fact, this is episode 66. And today is a special day because we are focusing on real estate agents. For those of you who are in the business of real estate, you're known as a realtor. Today, this episode is specifically for you. I know a lot of you watch my episodes from week to week, and as you know, you get lots of different tips and strategies, but today we want to focus specifically on your industry. Now, why this particular industry? Well, personally, I have a personal interest in that. I was in the industry for 12 years. I was a top producer. I actually owned my own real estate company for 2 years as well, and I sat on our local board of directors. And I left the industry after 12 years, and I'll sort of weave that story into today's episode. But I suspect you're here because maybe you're at a place where you want to know how to take your business to the next level. You may be a brand new realtor. You may feel like you're a one-armed paper hanger, as my mother used to say, with all things going in the air and trying to have some work-life balance. So whatever it is for you today, this episode should provide some good tips and strategies for you. And if you like this episode and you'd like more of these specific ones focused on your industry, please do comment on my website, HangOutWithCoachKerry.com. You can see it right down in the screen here. Or if you're listening to this on my podcast, you can make a comment there. And also on my website, any opportunity there that you want to contact me, please do, because I'd love to support you. My purpose for doing these episodes is to support you, to give you tips and strategies to help you be more successful. I'm a veteran in the coaching industry. I've been in the industry now for over 18 years, and I've coached hundreds and hundreds of people just like you to be successful. So today I'm honored to have a VIP panelist of successful real estate agents. And they're going to come to this episode, or they came to this episode with some questions for me. And first of all, what I want to do is have them introduce themselves to you. So we're going to start with Jane Johnston, and Jane's going to tell you a little bit about her, what maybe makes her unique in the marketplace, and how you can connect with Jane should you want to find out more about what she does. So Jane, if you take yourself off mute, tell us everybody who you are.
Okay, my name's Jane Johnston. I'm with the Briar Hill Group at RE/MAX Camosun. I've been in real estate for 9 years and a top producing realtor. I've won an MLS Special Gold Medal, and I've top 10% in the city for the last 7 of 9 years. What I specialize in really is figuring out what my clients need and fitting them with resources both in the community, both for their house as well as specialists they need for anything to enhance their move. How people get in touch with me is they can go to briarhillgroup.com, that's BRIAR, hillgroup.com, or they can call me at 250-744-0775.
Great, excellent. And one of the things, Jane, that you didn't mention is that your Twitter handle is Realty Teacher, and you have a teaching background. So a lot of the work I think you do with your clients is very much on an education about the marketplace background.
Yes.
And we'll refer to that a little bit later on in this episode, probably at some point, in terms of what differentiates us in the marketplace. Okay, well, thanks, Jane. And on to Joanne. Joanne, tell us about you and how the audience could connect with you should they wish to.
Hey, hi, everybody. I'm Joanne Robertson, and I'm with GFH Real Estate. I've been a realtor now for 6 years. I specialize in downsizing. I really find that I really enjoy working with seniors, and I've connected with a few other people in the industry who we do seminars on probably twice a year now, and they're specific to downsizing. How you can reach me is at my website at www.joannebroderson.com, or you can call me direct at 250-812-3914.
Great. Thanks, Joanne. And Sarah, let's hear from you. Tell us about you.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah Waters. I'm a realtor with the Modern Real Estate team at Royal LePage Coast Capital Realty. I've also been in the business for 6 years. I work in a team with one other realtor, and we have a full-time assistant. So we are a team of young, dynamic professionals, basically working to serve our clients. What makes us different? Well, because we're young, we leverage technology. We work well with business people and professionals who are busy, who need the tools and technology to make things more efficient. We really pride ourselves on that, and we also work hard to use technology and different marketing and creativity and different strategies to sell listings. So that's how we're different. How people can reach us, our website, www.modernrev.com, or they can reach us by email, team, T-E-A-M, at modernrev.com.
Great. Excellent. Okay, so as you can see, I have an expert panel here today, people who are experienced in the industry and have different focuses. So why don't we start with you, Jane? What's your question for me today that you'd like some coaching on?
Well, my business has really grown, especially in the past year. I've just moved from one company to another, to Remax Camosun, and I have a part-time assistant that I share with 2 other realtors, and I'm getting to the point now where I need a full-time assistant. So my part-time assistant is going to stay where she is, and I need to hire a new person and train her while being extremely busy. I'm wondering if it's a good idea to use my part-timer as a transition person during the process, or perhaps just start new and train her with good habits right from the beginning. I haven't decided who she is yet, though.
Well, and of course, you know, it could be a he. Huh?
It could be.
That's great. So Jane, I'll just have you put yourself on mute just for our sound quality here, and then I can have you come back on when we move to some discussion on this. And as you can see, Jane's a busy realtor. She's calling actually from her car, which is for a realtor, often they have 2 offices. One of them is the car, and one of them is their office space. So, you know, Jane, you have a question that really is about, you know, growth in a business. In any business, and especially real estate, you know, you're going to go through really 3 phases. You're going to go through your startup phase, where really you're going to be doing everything yourself. You, at that point in time, have to learn how to do everything yourself, which I think is an important thing. And for those of you who've watched my episodes before, you know that I really do believe that it's important that you know how to do whatever it is you delegate, or at least you know enough of it so that if in a pinch you could get somebody else to do it immediately, or do it yourself, so that you're never held hostage by anyone in a situation where something isn't able to be done. So having said that, you're in a position right now where you've had someone who's been a part-time assistant for you, and now you're ready to go to the next level. So, you know, this is in this maintenance, what I call maintenance and growth phase of a business. So you're in that kind of section in the beginning. You've gone through the startup phase. You're now in this growth and maintenance phase in there, where you now are in a position where you're hiring other people to be able to support you, because you know, leveraging yourself is really important. For those of you again who've watched my episode a lot, you know I'm fond of saying there is no sense in doing well that which you shouldn't be doing at all. And so, you know, good on you that you've realized that to go to the next level for you to be able to grow your business, your current situation, you're at capacity where you are with the assistant that you currently have. So really your question was, do you use her to train your next person, or do you start from scratch and train a new person? And really there's a couple of questions to ask yourself before that. And one of them is this part-time person, are their habits, are their systems, are their protocols ones that you actually want duplicated? And if the answer is no, then really the answer is there for yourself already. Certainly there may be some things that you may have them train the new person on, because they may do those particular things very well. But in the very beginning, you know, with anything, whenever you're hiring anyone, you know, hiring for attitude is really important, because skills they can learn. And when you're busy as a realtor, it's so easy to abdicate versus delegate. And what that is here, you know, go at it and do it. So there is a tendency often in the real estate industry for people to look for an experienced assistant to bring them on board, because basically what you want to be able to do is abdicate and go off and do what you like to do, which is the business development, working one-on-one with clients all the time. And of course that's where, you know, your highest dollar value activity is. However, not training them well will show up and it will bite you in the butt, as I like to say, because what will happen is mistakes will be made. You have to. Then you can also end up micromanaging in a way. It may not be your tendency to do that, but when you don't trust that they're going to do it your way or the way you want it done, you're going to have to spend more time watching them to make sure it's being done. So the first question is the part-time assistant that you've got right now, is that the person to be training the new person? And if that answer is yes, well then there's your answer in that. If it's no, then you want to ask yourself your next question, which is, what are the systems and protocols that I want to have in place? What do you want to, what is the Briar Hill Group way? And that would be for anyone in any business, but especially the other two, realtors we've got on here. What is your way? Because your way is going to be different than anyone else's. Your way is going to reflect your values. It's going to reflect the culture, kind of who you are, because that's your differentiator in the marketplace. What sets you apart from anyone else is your culture, the way you do things, who you are. So if the answer is that you don't have that in place, then before you even go looking for that next assistant, is you have to have all of those systems and procedures in place. And when you're busy, then you've got to carve out the time to be able to do that. So let's assume you've got those all in place. So the answer is there's a few things that you haven't identified. You're not really clear on what is the Briar Hill Group way. You've done that. And then you go searching for your assistant. And then it's really important that you look for the person with the right behavioral style, because you are good at what you do. And as a successful realtor, you have different behavioral traits than a person who's going to be a good assistant. And the challenge is often what we do is we hire somebody, or we start going down that process because we click with them. We like them. The problem is we actually want somebody who's different than us. We want somebody to do the things that, again, we shouldn't be doing. There's no sense in doing well that which we shouldn't be doing. So you're going to want somebody who is detail oriented. So I always recommend doing a behavioral assessment once you get down to the short list of a couple of people. You also want to test them with certain things. And then you might even start transitioning while you've got your existing assistant, having them do a couple of things that are maybe a bit tricky. That are maybe those things that you train them, test it out and see. So you take them through this almost like a trial period where you're testing things out. So you haven't let go of your part-time assistant yet, and you're testing the waters with this, because no question about it, the cost of a new hire is not just money, but it's also your time. So you want to make sure you've got the best person in the right position, because too often I see in real estate that people will hire an assistant, then they'll let them go and they'll say, oh, it didn't work out. And really what it was is they weren't trained well enough, and there wasn't enough time set aside to actually be able to train them. So you have to decide when you're going to do that. So the other piece is there's going to be a time, your business is cyclical. There's different times in the year when you're going to be busier than other times. So, the height of the market is not a good time for you to do that transition, to throw somebody into the, hot water. You want to be able to take them at a time when maybe it's not so busy. So for an example, summer or December, for an example, maybe times when you're going to bring somebody on so they can get their feet wet with your way, and then you can do that transition. So Jane, why don't you take yourself off mute right now and just, give me some feedback on what I've said, and if that raised any other questions for you, or what you took away from that.
Well, I do have a policy and procedure manual. I have a way of doing things. I've been working on that for years. So every time, and I notice if something goes wrong, we go back to the policies to see where the mistake was, so we revise it. So I totally agree. What my thought was is that I can get my old assistant to train my new assistant in perhaps some things that she's really good at, which are like client care management. And then other things, I think I'll change it up and have her meet with me one-on-one. I do agree the timing is bad. I'm waiting for the market to slow down. I wasn't planning to be in my car for this interview. But so anyway, my thought is it'll probably have to happen in the fall, and I'll just have to be patient. And I think you have said in the past, hire slow, fire fast. And I do have somebody helping me with the hiring process who is experienced in real estate hiring, so I'm hoping that she'll help me choose somebody good. So she's going to narrow down the criteria to begin with, and then from there, and I agree with you, my problem is I always hire people I like, whereas I should be hiring people who work well for me. So
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's where I would encourage you, Jane, when you get down to the the last couple of candidates, is to do a behavioral assessment on them, because that's gonna look at the soft skills that you're not going to be able to see. You can always look at somebody's hard skills. You can have them do tests. You can have them do certain things, but that soft skill piece is the really key piece, because that'll tell you that past behavior is a good indicator of future behavior, and it will help you with that. So great. I'm glad you got some great stuff out of that.
thank
So
you.
Joanne, how about for you? You're welcome. Joanne, how about for you? What's your question for me today? And Joanne, you're on mute, so just take yourself up. Great, good.
Sorry. Yeah, so my question for you today is, how can coaching increase my bottom line?
Great question. And we could probably spend a couple hours on that one, on all the various things. So I'm going to try and give you an overview on it. And again, as I mentioned when I was dealing with Jane's question, in real estate, there's these 3 phases. So this is the startup phase. So what a coach can help you do at that particular point is put some of those systems in place that you don't even know you need to have. Create a policies and procedures manual. Get some of those systems in place, because you're going to have to learn to scale your business. When I was first in it, I remember when I had my first listing, it was all consuming for me. I could spend all day putting all the stuff together. And then I got my second listing, and it was, oh my goodness, how am I going to deal with 2? Well, at the end of the day, how are you going to deal with 15, 20, 30, 35 listings? And I liken it to a story I tell often, is my mother-in-law had 8 children. She didn't have 8 all at once. She had 1, and she learned how to have 1 child at once. And then she had a second one, and she learned that. And then she had a third one, and then she had a fourth one. And then, by the time the 8th one came around, she kind of had her systems in place. So it's exactly the same thing in real estate. So what a coach will help someone who's new in the business is get those systems in place so that you can scale faster, so you can move things faster. And also, you're learning about yourself. You're in a business that's very much you have to be the rainmaker. So you need to know your skills and abilities, where your strengths are, where your areas of development are. And so you need another set of eyes on that for you to be able to develop that. So then when you're in that growth and then maintenance mode in business, is you actually really need somebody to challenge you to step things up. Rather than just sort of getting complacent, which often happens. Sometimes we get into some lazy habits. We don't do what we did in the early days. We don't get out and do the kind of prospecting and business development we need. Or to have you look at what it would look like for you to actually have a team now. How it would look like for you to actually be managing people, because managing is a very different skill set than being a good salesperson is. Very different skill set. And so there's some new skills that you're going to have to learn when you're in that phase. Also, having another set of eyes to be able to brainstorm all the various marketing strategies. That's really important. And now you have to spend really important time working on your business, just not in your business. And how do you carve that time out? So what a coach does is forces you to carve that time out so you can do some, long-range planning. You can do a strategic plan every kind of 90 days, every 12 weeks. You can put that in place. And what the coach does, as I say, is my boot is firmly planted on your behind. Pushing you forward, challenging you. Well, why couldn't you do that? So often we only see things a certain way, and what a coach will do is help you see things in a very, very different perspective. Also, to help you look at best practices. Too often I see realtors look at themselves as a salesperson, but in fact you really need to look at this as running a business like any other business, and there are best practices in any business you need to have in place when you're actually running a real estate business as well. So that a business coach can help you with, versus someone who's maybe dealing with just personal effectiveness or a life coach. So again, finding the right coach for where you are in that phase, I think, is a really important piece. And then the last phase in a business is when you're actually looking at exit strategy. And again, people wait far too long to make a decision on when they're going to exit and putting that in place. The time actually for any business owner to think about an exit strategy is actually when they start their business. What is that actually going to look like? What do you want it to look like? And it can shift over time, but you need to be working towards something. Do you want to just one day take your shingle down and be done? And that's okay if that's what it is. But too often people wait too long to actually think of what that's like, and then there's a point at which they go, I'm out of here. And I kind of threatened that I'd tell you my story, and I was in the business for almost 12 years. No one ever, coaches weren't around in those days, and I had come to the place where I'd had one of those succession of clients who bought from someone else, good friends who bought from somebody else, clients that were just a ton of work, some deals that fell apart, and I was just sort of up to here. And I threw out the baby with the bathwater. I quit the business. I, got rid of my errors and omissions insurance. I did everything so I couldn't come back. And at the end of the day, not a great decision, because at the end of the day, it was the right career for me in terms of my behavioral style. If I'd had a coach, I wouldn't have done that. I actually would have stayed in the business and had somebody say to me, well, let's put some of these other things in place so you're not so overwhelmed. Let's put these things in place so you can have some work-life balance. So, Joanne, back to your question is, at any different stage, wherever you are in your real estate career, a coach can be incredibly helpful for you. Too often we think that we've got to have a problem to actually hire a coach, and sometimes that's too late. Coaches, yes, absolutely, we're most motivated to hire a coach when we're in pain of some kind, but the fact of the matter is that if you can see the wisdom in hiring somebody to have another set of eyes to take you to the next level, then that's where huge development and huge growth can happen. And I've worked with a number of realtors that came to me right at that point where they were ready to sort of break into the next level, and incredible things happened. So Joanne, tell me if that answered your question, and did it raise any other questions for you?
Yeah, it did actually answer my question, and I can see the value in that for sure, and certainly in the part where I'm at now, where it's the growing and the growing aspect and finding balances and that kind of stuff, and the fact that you have somebody accountable, because this business can be a lonely business at times, and if your accountability is there for somebody, I think it makes you work a little harder. So thank you, Kerry. It was very helpful.
Great, excellent, good. Thank you. Okay, Sarah, what's your question for me?
My microphone off. Okay, there we go. So I think most of my questions got answered just by Jane and Joanne, but I thought of a new question that maybe you could help with. One thing that we're working on with our team is really nailing down our value proposition, so the value that we bring to the marketplace. Particularly, we're focusing on working with sellers and what is the value we bring. So I guess my question is, what sort of tips and strategies can you give to us to help us get some clarity around what our value proposition really is in our marketplace?
Great question. So the first place I would kind of back up, if you were a client coming to me and asking me that sort of question and we hadn't done some work so I didn't know the answers to this, is who is your avatar for your client? What is their, and you really want to narrow it down. And now it sounds counterintuitive, because the fact of the matter is you could sell a piece of real estate to anyone who came to buy it. The fact of the matter is that this is how you differentiate yourself in the marketplace. So your value proposition, but prior to that, is really, who is that avatar? What are their desires? What are their egoic labels that they have? What are their pains? What are their challenges? What are the transformations that they're looking to have? So really start delving into that key person. Taking a look at maybe even surveying some of your existing clients that you've had, and ask them those kinds of questions, because out of that, you can move from the superficial stuff that you see so many people saying to really digging down deep. And why is that important? Because that will inform every single thing that you do. It'll inform the copy you have on your website. It will inform the look and feel of your business cards. So not just a brand. Brand isn't just what the logo looks like and the colors and all that, but it really will deal with all of that. It'll deal with any brochures or any material. It'll deal with the copy you put on brochures, flyers, ads. It'll be how you'll communicate with them when you're meeting with them to do a listing presentation. It's the kind of conversation, and it's who you are when you're communicating with, if you're seeing them out in the marketplace, whatever it is. So it'll deal with every single piece along the transaction. So you want to go right back as to who are they? You know, what do they look like? Where do they go? Where do they live? What are the activities that they're interested in? You know, what kind of cars do they drive? And in fact, this is the same work that I do with any other small business owner, is you really have to go back and make sure that that is, you know, that is really, really clear. You know, sometimes if you go onto, you know, what I would say is go on to, maybe are there some real estate blogs out there in the marketplace, you know, outside of your current community, and take a look at what people are talking about on those, and see if there's any of the words there that your marketplace would resonate with. It'll give you some of that language that they're using. You know, finding that niche in the marketplace is really, really critical. And you know, the narrower that you get with that, then anything that you write or do will resonate with them. So I would encourage all of you is to look at not just real estate ads, but any other kinds of ads out there, and ask yourself, who are they speaking to in it? So that you can start developing that ability, you know, to become savvy, to understand what it is, what, you know, who it is that they're out there trying to connect with. And if you are your avatar, and Sarah, I don't know whether you are, but if you are, for an example, then, you know, what are those ads that attract me? So not just real estate, because remember, we're a whole person, and real estate really encompasses everything, isn't it? Because it's a person's home, it's their lifestyle, it represents who they are, it's an egoic label for them, you know, where they live. So back up that little bit versus what do you offer, and more what do they want. And then when you know what their dreams and desires are, when you know what transformation, you know, what is that new home going to be like for them? Because a seller is usually moving somewhere else, right? But also, what is it that they're looking for in that need that they have, that you would fill for listing their property? You know, again, anyone can put a piece of real estate on the market today. People can do it themselves online very easily. So why do they choose a realtor, and why would they choose you? Because there'll be a match between what they're looking for and what you're saying you offer. And the tighter that match, the greater chance that whenever they interact with you, they're going to resonate immediately with them. So go back to them, look at that, again, that egoic title, you know, that avatar for them, really get that really clear. Do some online research about what are some of the questions people are asking on real estate blogs, and those are the kind of questions and things that you could answer. Or in fact, if you answer those, then they're going to resonate directly with you. So, and then that will then match culture. So you're not just your value proposition, but the values that you and your team bring to the table, and the culture that you have. There has to be a match there as well, right? So does that make sense? Why don't you take yourself off mute and see if that answered your question?
Yeah, that's definitely gives me a little more clarity.
Yeah, good. So go and do that homework first, and you may have already done some of that, but go back again and really delve into it again. And I would recommend that you survey some of your past clients. And they're probably, what's going to happen is you ask them a question, they're going to give you a surface answer. So you want to dig deeper, and you want to dig deeper, and you want to dig deeper. But really, you know, what was it that caused them to work with you? And you really want to get down to that piece, and what was it that caused them actually to make the decision even to list their property with someone else versus doing it themselves. You know, like really getting down into that answer, and then you'll know that there's a match that's there. Because I'd say is, you know, too often what we do is we say, this is the niche I want, but that marketplace out there isn't getting the message, or there isn't even enough of a market for it, then there's not obviously going to be enough of a match to make a successful career. Right. Okay, ladies, so what I'd like to do, because I think we're at time here, is maybe go through and just maybe share with our audience today your number one sort of takeaway. It might help cement that learning for them as well. So Jane, we'll start with you. What was your sort of number one that you're taking away from today's episode?
Well, actually, it was interesting listening to your question with Sarah. I guess one of the things that I really want to make sure when I hire my new assistant is just that she or he also represents the value of my organization, because she's going to be a front-end person for a lot of stuff. So determining what needs to be trained by my former assistant, what needs to be trained by me, and then just ensuring that she reflects my values when as we're going forward.
Great, excellent. Yeah, you know, often this is what happens is somebody else's questions triggers other stuff for yourself. So that's great, excellent. Joanne, how about for you? What are you taking away from today's episode?
I think the whole accountability piece, like being accountable to someone else and making you work a little harder, and as you put it, having your boot in your butt. That's a good one. That'll make you work a little harder.
Well, it does. You know, you make a promise to somebody else, but also you've got skin in the game. You know, you've got your time and you've got your money, and it's amazing how. I mean, I have coaches because it keeps me accountable to say what I'm going to say. Because guess what? We can lie to ourselves pretty easily, can't we? You know, we can let ourselves off the hook. So that's great. Thanks, Joanne. And Sarah, how about for you?
Actually, my number one takeaway was when you were talking to Jane. When you said we were talking about systems and having, when you have your systems and your procedures in place, it enables you to scale faster. I've definitely seen that in my business with buyers. Last year, buyers were overwhelming, and now we can take on more because we have those systems. So just being able to really drill down on those systems so we can scale in other areas.
Yeah,
that was my
cool.
big takeaway.
Great, excellent, good. Well, again, everybody, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time. I know as busy realtors, it's tough to be able to get everyone together, and but I think we've got some great value to this. And the audience, again, please do, you know, if you have any questions or any interest in either of the three panelists, please do be in touch with them. I look forward to your comments on the website. Again, go to HangOutWithCoachKerry.com, and it's Kerry spelled Kerry. And please subscribe to receive notifications of upcoming episodes, etc. And I look forward to having you on a future episode as well. So thanks again to my panelists. I really appreciate your time. And for everyone, have a great week and be inspired. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.